All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Visionary Dawn, brought to you today, especially by Soccer Central. I'm Daniel Meany with my co-host Nick Huber. Joining us today as well is John Hernandez, one of our content creators under the Soccer Central flag. And today's very special guest is Gerald Yong, a writer on the team at Passion Republic for and we want to talk about the recent release with Gigabash, the game that has released across multiple platforms. I got to enjoy a little bit of on Steam already. And so from there, uh, Gerald, excuse me. I swear I'll try and keep the G straight. Uh, one of the one of the main points for Visionary Dawn here is creating a space that other creators can look to, especially aspiring creators who are just starting off in their journey. So if you want to tell us just how you got started writing, especially, and then how you moved into working with Passion Republic, and then uh, what got started with or then how that led into like Gigabash and everything. So please, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Gerald. How I started is actually a pretty interesting story. Uh, it's definitely not the conventional path. I studied animation uh, in the One Academy in Malaysia, um, and I graduated as a 3D animator. When I joined Passion Republic, we were still an outsourcing company. We made triple A assets for other triple A games. So one of the games I worked on are Gears of War 5, the recent Diablo 4, and many more. So I was an animator back then. Only 2 years, close to 3 years of working as an animator. Uh, at the time, around 2018 or 17 or late 2017, I believe, that one of the teams in Passion Republic, actually have a team called Pathfinder. It's sort of like a in-house initiative where we explore how to make games. So I talked about Passion Republic making games, making AAA assets, but that's mostly on the art side. So the art production side. So like models, 3D models, animation assets, effects, and so on, and also concept art. But we never really made our own game and published our own game before, like from scratch. So it was only in 2000, late 2017, where we really things really started to come together. Uh, yeah, and that was when we sort of cobbled together the idea of Gigabash. And it was only like 2 years after Gigabash was sort of running uh, in the prototype phase that I only joined as a writer. So the story of how I became a writer is also a funny one. Um, it was one of the presentations the Gigabash team did. Back then, it wasn't even called Gigabash. It was just called Project Titan. And yeah, and I remember seeing like the presentation slides, like the team was just doing a sharing in the studio. And oh sorry, no, we already had came up with the name Gigabash. And we went to Tokyo Game Show 2019. Yes. And then the team came back from the game show. They went there to sort of showcase Gigabash, and then they shared their experience and what the fans or what the other players think about Gigabash. And I was just so inspired by the whole the interaction of the fans and how everyone said that they want to see more of the game. So during the presentation back in the studio, I saw a few concept arts of the characters, mainly Thundertross and Gigaman. And I just had a storyline in my head just pop up. And I just went up to my boss after the presentation and I just told him, hey, CERN is our boss. So I just told
Mhm.
CERN that, hey, CERN, I have an idea for the story. And then he's like, sure, you write it. And then I'm like, sure. And that was it. Like the next day, I just started writing. And my animation lead was pretty shocked by the experience because he just lost one of his animators. And
Oh,
then, but at the time, I had to do both animation and writing for like about 2, 3 months to transition, just to make the transition. And yeah, after that, I'm just a full-time narrative designer and writer. It was pretty funny as well because we never really thought of hiring a writer or a narrative designer. And I sort of have to Google what's the name of this role is, and then just define it to the team and my boss.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's a pretty wild journey. Yeah.
It's an awesome start, man.
Yeah, incredible beginning. I love how it just, like I got an idea for the story. Great, you write it. I love that.
Sounds like oh great, someone's already on it. That's perfect.
Yeah, that
Another
was
thing
pretty
I
much
don't
it.
have to do.
Yeah.
Because
So,
Mel, the game director, one of the game co-directors, he mentioned that he needed someone to think about and focus on the lore side of Gigabash. And I came in the right time. So I guess it fits. Yeah, I've been working on story ever since.
yeah.
Awesome.
Question I wanted to ask you, what programs did your team use to complete like aspects of the game? Did you guys use any open source stuff like Krita or Blender to create like the assets, like the models and so on?
For Gigabash, I
Yes.
think we did not use any open source stuff except for, the game is running on Unreal Engine, which technically isn't open source, but it's sort of
Mhm.
free for everyone to sort of try out. Yeah, but other than that, we use just the conventional license stuff like Autodesk, Maya, Motion Builder, Houdini, Photoshop, and so on.
Mm.
Yeah,
Houdini still has
but
the reputation as some of the best
yeah,
effects.
yeah, but I'd say like if anyone wants to try out making games, I think definitely just go for the free stuff like Blender and so on. Like Blender is pretty awesome right now. Like it's sort of on par with what Maya, Autodesk Maya can do, but with all the community support and like the new plugins that the communities are making, definitely you get a lot more capability with Blender actually. But that's just my opinion. Like as a writer, I just write stuff, man.
No,
Right.
we're right there. We're right there with you. One of the best other open source programs that we like to support is Krita, because they have a wonderful community that's built up, and so I mean there's entire asset packets that are just it'll draw just like Copic markers for all of our art fans out there, and it's I love seeing the communities that have built up on those. I know we're recording, but John, do you have the questions pulled up as well, my friend?
Let me go ahead and pull those up. Let me
'Cause
just.
want you to be able to jump in with us too.
Oh
I
yeah,
just added it to our messenger chat for you.
got it. Yep, I got her up.
Sorry, Gerald.
And no worries. I guess I can talk a bit about how Gigabash itself was started.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, of course.
yeah, I think that's the juice of it, right? So actually, Gigabash started from just a casual conversation between two. I think it was Mel and someone else who didn't really work on Gigabash. So they were talking about the games in the past, like World of Monsters
Mhm.
or what's it called? What's it called again? That four-player top-down fighting game, Power Stone. Yeah,
Power Stone. Yep.
Power Stone.
Yeah, like four people just like beating each other up. And we also play a lot of Smash Bros in the office. Like we are just um, legally addicted to the game. You just play it every day after lunch for like an hour into like working hours time. Like it's just horrible addiction, but it's just so fun. And yeah, we were just really inspired by those chaotic multiplayer sort of beat each other up kind of game. And then just this idea came out like, oh, what if Godzilla and King Kong beat each other up? Like we get kaijus, we get Ultraman, we put them in city and we just beat each other up. Wouldn't that be fun? And everyone's like, yeah, hell yeah. Then let's just do it in prototype. And that's just how it started. Like legit, like that was how like we didn't even have programmers at the time. So the programmers we had now, they were technical artists and riggers, and they transitioned into programmers after we sort of got Gigabash rolling. So it was the riggers who mainly Gok Chuan and Ling Shen, who's with us right now, but and Lin, who's still with us. So they cobbled together a sort of prototype, and then that sort of showcased a very janky looking, you know, the default Unreal model. We just scale up the muscle to make it look like King Kong, shorten his legs to make it look like King Kong.
Oh man.
And I think we downloaded some kind of free asset that sort of looks like King Kong but doesn't, looks like a cheap knockoff King Kong. And we just sort of programmed all the character blueprints, animation blueprints, and so on, and just had them beat each other up. The game was very janky, but it sort of proved the concept of the whole kaiju monster arena kind of idea.
Hmm.
And yeah, and that idea just kept on rolling and rolling. Yeah, and then it became what Gigabash is today. Yeah,
Exactly.
pretty organic. Yeah,
Yeah, that's I
So,
love like the
pretty chaotic
reference
journey.
to Power Stone, by the way, because I haven't heard about that game in years, but I remember like how fun it was to play with friends. For you two guys, it's a Sega Dreamcast game. And now that I think about it, I can see a lot of the influences you might have gotten from, Power Stone when the team was working on the game a little bit.
Yeah, I think Power Stone is one of the big ones because when we started Gigabash at the time, it sort of had like a split screen, Ultraman reference. So it's a split screen kind of layout. So each player is like, okay, player one is on the top left corner, player two is on the top right corner, and so on. But it made it pretty difficult to know who is attacking you from behind. Like you couldn't see what's going on behind. And I think someone suggested, hey, why not we just break this split screen thing? We just make it sort of look like Power Stone, like a top-down camera. And that was really a good turning point for the whole game because it made it so much more clearer for the players. And you could really see the scale of the destruction of four very angry kaijus just beating each other up and the whole city just collapsing and flattening to pieces.
And just playing the
really
game.
changed the game.
Yeah, you get so immersed into it too. That was like the best part about Gigabash.
That's so great to hear.
Yeah.
Because one of the main things we were worried about is the top-down camera might pull players out from being immersed in the game. Because there's just something different about a third-person camera. Like you are the monster, but from a top-down camera, you see the whole battle taking place. It's more of it pushes more on the gameplay side and instead on the immersion side. So to hear that you are still immersed, like that's pretty good. Thank you so much for enjoying.
Yeah, I play it so often that it's just I usually can't put it down. It's like one of those games that I just can't put down at the time, and I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, just myself as because I know during the time that we were demoing it at G Fest, that was like the first year it was actually out for demoing. And oh my God, it was just such a fun time, especially like with other attendees just having a grand time playing it and just going, what is this game? Like what is Gigabash? And I'm like, go check it out. It's indie company that produced it. Like play it. They want people to play it so they can get feedback on it.
Yeah. I can confirm I was at the G Fest event with John as well, and I saw a lot of people picking up and playing the game. They really especially liked the plant monster
Rohana.
Rohan. Yeah, they really liked her, and the dragon. It looks kind of like Godzilla, but it's a dragon, a Rawa.
Rawa, yeah. Rawa was a definitely nice touch to the game. Rawa and Gigaman were just very nice.
Yes. Yeah.
To also just to put us on the proper section on the page here, one of the questions we actually do have for the lineup, is like how for those like, when we go to the website and everything, those 10, how did the initial lineup kind of come together for that? Or did y'all kind of like, okay, we've got 30 monster ideas, we need to whittle it down? How did we land with the prime team, I guess?
I guess the process is somewhere in between. We started off with Gorgon because he was one of our prototype characters we worked on. So remember that janky looking King Kong guy? That became Gorgon. We were like, okay, this model is just way too ugly. So we asked one of our concept art team to like, hey, can you guys come up with something that looks ugly but sort of appealing at the same time? And it started off with something that looks a bit like King Kong, and then it kept on evolving to what Gorgon is today. And then afterwards, we worked on PP Juras because, Gorgon is a melee character. He only uses punches and he's sort of a rush down character. So we wanted the opposite of that, which was like a range attack character. And that sort of became PP Juras. So inspiration definitely came from Alien Baltan from Ultraman.
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious, and there's a few more. But yeah, so it was mainly from a gameplay first perspective. So whatever makes the game more fun. So yeah, so Gorgon was the melee guy. PP Juras was the direct opposite. And so after that, it's I believe it's either Thundertross or Wooly. So Wooly was a totally different approach. So I'm pretty sure like Wooly, this sort of character archetype, cute, lovable, sort of dumb, doesn't really, you don't really see it every day in a kaiju movie, right? So that came from, I think it was our Seren's idea, or I forgot who he said that, we have all these very manly, masculine characters. Why not we have something that appeals to the feminine side, to other like female gamers? Like, so not just something cute. And through that idea, Wooly was born. And it turns out, it's just not girls that like cute stuff, like guys like cute stuff too. And then just Wooly just became like the fan favorite in every event. Everyone is just like, do you guys have like a Wooly plushie? And from there, we also made a Wooly plushie as well.
Oh man, I'm still trying to look for that. I know there was like a limited supply in it, but I was like,
like
I think Nick made a Wooly figure. That's kind of a tribute post the creation of the launch of Gigabash and stuff. And we had a bunch of people that were like, "Do you have more of these?"
Yeah, I did make a Wooly figure. He's upstairs. I designed him in ZBrush because I really liked Wooly. I thought he was a funny, goofy character, and I made it into like a little 3D print using my X1 carbon. And I hand painted it and brought it to G-Fest just to help, boost the Gigabash thing with John. And people were looking at her like, "Hey, can I buy that?" I was like, "No, I'm sorry."
That was like that was the only one on display too. I was like, "Where did you get that?" And you're like, "I made it." I was like, "Is there more?" No, this is the only one.
I was like, "No,
it's just a tribute."
Yeah, I saw the picture, dude. Like, it's amazing.
Oh,
how'd you get it out so fast? That was amazing.
Thanks. Thank you.
Do you want to take the next question?
Yeah. I'll take the next question. Yeah. So, were any of your game environments inspired by any specific films, like a specific Godzilla movie or Ultraman, perhaps?
I think definitely the original Tokyo map, Kimura district. So we didn't really have a specific scene in mind, but the feeling of being in a kaiju movie, which is most of the time shot in Japan, in Tokyo, Japan. So we just set one in. We just picked Tokyo as the main reference, specifically the 80s to 90s, I think. Yeah, that era. And eventually we sort of mixed in more modern stuff, but you still retain that kaiju movie look of the 80s kaiju movie look. And we looked at a lot of reference on Google Map, like just going to Street View and just taking lots and lots of screenshots. I think one of the teams, they went to Japan or something, and then they also took a lot of like street reference. So like if you go into Gigabash, you use the replay feature, and then if you go down to Street View, like it kind of feels like you are in Tokyo. It's kind of cool. Yeah. But other than that, we just try to do things from a gameplay perspective. Like what's different about this map? So for example, like Area 51, we wanted to add more hazard in the game, or maybe some specific map mechanics. So like in Area 51, the main Area 51, the research lab, you have what we call the bootleg PP Juras, the PP Juras tank.
Bootleg PPG. So that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's like, what if we have a bootleg PP Juras just to screw with people, and then it just attacks you? That's sort of how it works.
Yeah, I love the addition of the mecha PPG or the bootleg PPG because I remember I was playing a level and I saw that I was like, what? I thought it was one of those things like, it's just like a thing moving in the background. It's not going to actually attack me. And then when it attacked me, I was like, huh? What kind of sorcery is this?
Yeah, we had a lot of players on Discord like asking us, can you guys make the PP Juras tank like a thing? Like we want mecha PP as a playable character. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I know that the game has been released on several platforms. So when it came to releasing those games on the game on the different platforms, what was some challenges that came upon that when you're doing so?
Oh God. Yeah, that's a good question. That's actually one of the bigger challenges we faced for release. So during the initial release, we released on Steam, Epic, and PlayStation. Specifically for the PlayStation part, that was a really challenging experience, a really challenging journey. Not because PlayStation was not cooperative, like they were super helpful with us. It's the fact that we have just no experience porting to PlayStation. So there's a process. Yeah, there's a process called lot check. I think it's called lot check. Yeah. So what it means is you gotta send your game. You gotta send a build of your game that you are gonna release to PlayStation, and then they do like a QA on it. So if they find any big bugs or something, they'll send it back to you and then say, this doesn't work, fix it before you can publish this. So I think it took us multiple tries to get the game ready for publishing. And that took a lot of time. One of the stories is that on launch day, a few days before launch day, we still haven't passed the test, the QA test for PlayStation. And we already announced the launch day, and it's like a few hours, like I think it was less than 48 hours away from launch. And the team is like just scrambling together. Our CERN is on the phone, like calling the PlayStation guys, hey, can you guys help us out? And I think in the end, we made it on time, like a few hours before launch. And that was a huge bullet dodge right there.
God, yeah.
But you like, from what I heard from other developers, usually you get like a maximum of 3 tries. I think it took us about more than 5 and they really were really patient. Like PlayStation was really patient with us and
That's good to
really
hear.
helping us iron out the bugs. You're not supposed to do that as like game developers. Like this is unadvisable. Like we were definitely in the special case, and we were like super grateful to PlayStation for giving us that amount of patience.
That's actually really rare to hear that they were more supportive about it. I mean, they probably had some interest if that was the case. Like, this is definitely something that the public is going to see as like a really fun game to get into.
Mm.
Yeah, I hope so, because there were actually a lot of like small bugs that it's like when they send us the feedback, like, oh, this thing broke, we were just like face palming, like, oh my God, this small thing. And we were just beating ourselves over. And yeah, it was definitely very stressful and uh, a really rocky journey. I think the team really pulled it together, like in the end. Like we just did so many like triple checks. And then in the end, like just some small thing that we kind of missed out that just broke the whole thing. And we just have to fix it again and again and again. Yeah. But thankfully everything came together just on time. Just on time.
And I'm guessing too, it must have been more difficult when it came to porting it on the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox One, correct?
It was a lot smoother, definitely on Switch and Xbox because of the lessons we learned from PlayStation. To put it simply, it's more or less the same process, but the difference is in the details and how you set up different aspects, like to enable crossplay, like you need to have the achievements and so on to link and so on. Like that's a whole process that I'm not qualified to comment on, like maybe one of the programmers are. But definitely we learned a lot from the PlayStation experience. And yeah, Xbox was slightly better, and Nintendo Switch was also better, but definitely more complicated because of the hardware. We had to optimize the whole game for the Nintendo Switch hardware, which was very difficult to do, and it took a few years. We actually were thinking of launching on Switch quite early, but it's because of the optimization process was pretty hard. We actually had the Switch. I think we had the Switch developer kit while we were developing Gigabash. So it was like, I think 2019 or 2021. Yeah, 2021 we had the kit in, and we just started then. And yeah, it was just a long journey. Definitely not easy.
Yeah, like
It's definitely looking
close
like
though at the end.
it's paying off though. I'd love to eventually we'll have to ask like, the numbers and stuff that you guys are seeing for it. But especially from what you were telling us in the initial design phase, have you guys, and we want to talk about like the Ultraman and the Godzilla inclusions and stuff, but his name's come up a few times, and I must ask, would there ever be like an actual King Kong influenced Titan that we could see in Gigabash, or is that just
I mean, well, you can definitely unlock the sort of King Kong skin we had designed for Gorgon, but we definitely want the original King Kong in the game. Yeah, so we are reaching out, but we'll see how it goes. No promises. Yeah, we'll have to reach out to. I think it's Legendary Films who owns the IP, or maybe Warner Bros. I forgot.
I guess
Yeah,
Legend would have the most.
but definitely, like we would definitely want King Kong, yeah, or the original King Kong in the game. That would be great. But imagine if King Kong, Ultraman, and Godzilla are in the game. Like what fan wouldn't be like
Yeah,
ecstatic?
exactly.
Like hell yeah.
So
Nick, I was
yeah.
gonna say, Nick, do you want to take the what were Toho and Tsuburaya?
Oh
First?
yeah. What were Toho and Tsuburaya's responses to the game?
like before the DLC kind of deals and stuff. I assume favorable since we got them, but
Yeah, like right when you guys either pitched it to them or they pitched to you the idea of having Godzilla in the game, what was like their responses to that?
Yeah, when we initially pitched it to Toho, took a few tries to really convince them that we were sort of like we're sort of serious about putting Godzilla in the game, and like we'll treat the genre with extreme respect. I think the process of working with Toho was pretty enjoyable. There definitely were a few things that we really took a lot of time to discuss on. The biggest one is definitely Godzilla jumping. Like if you ever watch like Godzilla movies, he doesn't really jump, right? Like he doesn't really hop like that. I mean, the best one is he sort of flies, like he spits fire and then he like goes backward. Like, yeah. So definitely took a lot of time to convince Godzilla, to convince Toho that Godzilla needs to jump in Gigabash. If not, he's just gonna be at such a huge disadvantage in the game. Yeah, but other than that, it was a pretty smooth ride overall, and they were really supportive for what we were doing. Like, they even sent like reference like, oh, instead of this version, use this version, and then they're like, oh shit, that's sorry for swearing, but that's even more cool. So we just kept yeah we just kept rolling with it, and it was pretty cool. And when the game launched, they were really happy that it was really well received by the fans, and they even tried the game and they really enjoyed it. So it's really a surreal experience for like an indie game team like us to be able to work on such a huge IP to put it in our own game. Like that's just unreal. And when we contacted Suburaya afterwards, like I'm not sure I'm not sure if they were like sort of jealous, like, oh shit, like Godzilla has a game now. Like we want in. Maybe I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I wasn't there during the pitch, but that was just what I had imagined. Yeah, but it was after the Godzilla DLC launch that we really got the deal with Suburaya, and that's where we started. We started working on Ultraman. Yeah, and again, it was the same experience, or maybe similar experience as Tato. It was very enjoyable experience working with them. They were also super supportive with what we were doing, and like it's just a amazing journey to work with them. Yeah.
So this is something that I just want to include real quickly as just a improv question. I was told that you did the motion capture for Ultraman. Is that true?
Yeah. That was a dream come true, man.
That is
Like,
amazing.
Ultraman Gerald.
Yep.
You make that a thing.
How was the experience? You know,
yeah. How was that
getting
experience?
The morph suit on, I'm sure, is a fun time.
Yeah. When they told me that we had the Suburaya deal down, like I was already extremely happy. And then the next thought in my head was, oh wait, I can shoot the motion capture for this. Like, oh shit, this is the dream. This is the dream. Because like I'm a huge fan for Ultraman Tiga. Like just a shameless Ultraman Tiga fan. Like I love him so much that I just keep telling my team that, guys, please Tiga, please guys, please Tiga. Like he can change forms and stuff. Like isn't that cool? Wouldn't that be cool in Gigabash? And yeah, then they took the bite. So
Yes.
I get to live out the dream to be Ultraman Tiga.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I did the motion capture so there were three of us, three actors for the whole DLC. I did most of the Ultraman. I think all of Alien Dalton and I think some of like Ultraman Tiga. I shared it with another actor because he was also another Ultraman fan.
Oh,
Like we were just like teaming up, like, yeah, bro, let's go, let's go. It was so fun. And I think I did a bit on Chimera as well, just a little bit. Yeah.
He's in Chimera. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Just a
amazing.
little bit, like, yeah. And I remember doing the drop kick for Ultraman, like the one he charged up and then he leaped and then drop kicked someone. Like that's just something I want to tell my grandkids, like, your grandpapa did a drop kick as Ultraman. Like, that's just what I want to say. I do have it recorded, but I'm not sure if I can share it yet. Yeah, we need to go through like Sura to see if they let us share it. But yeah, I have it. Yeah,
I'm sure we're
pretty cool.
following all of the social stuff. We'll definitely share it around when it's finally
Yeah.
released.
We'll
It'll be a
find
fun
it.
time. Excellent.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Did you want to take the DLC roster questions, Nick, or?
Yeah, actually I was gonna take those. 1 second here. Let me get this up here again. Yeah, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, like, when making the Godzilla DLC roster for the game, like, what made your team decide Mechagodzilla, Gigan, and Destroya? I thought that was a very interesting line of, foes to have for Godzilla, especially Gigan and Destroya mixed together with Mechagodzilla. Like, what made you decide those as the extra DLC characters to represent the Godzilla franchise?
I think first off is definitely the gameplay side. Like we looked at each character from the Godzilla universe, and we sort of start to think like, okay, what's gonna make the Gigabash experience more unique? Like what's unique to this character? What's unique? What unique mechanic we can pull off with this character? So, for example, Gigan, we don't really have like a sort of speedy character that uses like knives. I mean, it's not really knives; it's like a razor claw thing. But yeah, some kind of like a slicing speedy character. So that was definitely something that Gigan could fit the bill for. And along with his like sort of abdomen buzz saw thing, like, oh, that was something we never really thought of doing. And you don't really see this sort of character in any other fighting games. So I could be wrong, but like, yeah, like that felt unique. So we just picked Gigan. And Gigan is sort of like a recurring rival, like a recurring enemy for Godzilla anyway. So that really fit the bill. As for Mechagodzilla, again, it's also the gameplay side. He offers like a lot of range, a variety of range attacks that, for example, PP Juras, who is also like a range specialist, like he doesn't have that many weapons to use that's like long range. And we also tried to experiment with like a energy system for Mechagodzilla. So like he has like a green energy bar and a blue energy bar that consumes, that different attacks consume. Yeah, so that was definitely a very unique gameplay experience that we wanted to deliver. For Destroya, I think that just a cool factor, and like he's just humongous, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, and his like sort of pincer tail was something that none of the Gigabash characters had. And even in like fighting games, like sometimes you see like a grappling type character, and we don't really have a lot of grappling type characters in Gigabash. So yeah, definitely Destroya. Yeah, and when we initially modeled the characters, I think Destroya was just like a very, I would say, shocking experience, because we were just amazed by how huge his model is, just to make it accurate or somewhat representative of what he looks like in the film. So Destroya, in his normal form, is almost as big than other characters in their S-class form. So when he's in his S-class form, he's like twice the size. Like it's just amazingly a shock and terrifying monster. Like I would not I would not piss him off, man. Like, stay out.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Like, Destroya is a terrifying character, especially in the Godzilla franchise. Especially just from his like entrance when that final form happens. Johnny and I know. I don't know if Daniel's seen the movie yet, but when Destroya first appears in his final form, he grabs Godzilla's
Like,
son
oh
and
God.
kills him. Yeah, yeah. The first time he shows up, he grabs Godzilla's son and then drops him into a building and kills him. It's like that is how he
Yeah.
makes his entrance.
Yeah, that's how you get childhood trauma, man. I was pretty young when I saw that movie. Like, what? I'm not ready for this.
Oh, wait a minute. This isn't right.
Dad, the baby's okay, right? Yeah.
Oh no, it's not.
Yeah,
Like,
no, he's gonna be all right. I think. Yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
another question I want to ask you was when choosing the Ultraman characters, what made you decide to choose Tiga and especially Chimera? That's a very interesting choice too, because Chimera was the love interest of Tiga, and she's like the final antagonist of the series, but she was never used beyond that, really. Like, she was just in the Ultraman Tiga movie as the final antagonist of the series to kind of like finish Ultraman Tiga's story, but that was it. Like, that was kind of like all she was. So I thought that was interesting you decide to have her as a playable character. But what made you decide her and Tiga in the game?
yeah, so I mean, Tiga, firstly, it's because of it's my fault because I'm such a huge fan of Tiga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
joking.
tells me there might have been a
Yeah.
fan on the team.
I mean, there were several, but definitely, definitely it's the gameplay side. Like the whole type change mechanic was just something that was never really explored in Gigabash. So that was definitely something that really hooked us for Tiga. There were definitely other choices like Dinah, who can also do the type change. But Tiga is the first one to do the type change, so like, yeah, he won over. There were also like other Ultraman characters that we had in mind, but we just went for the one that really stood out from the others. Like, that type change mechanic was just too unique to not have. And I'm also a fan, so like I was pretty persistent with Tiga, so that's my fault. And as for Chimera, I'd say it's because the mechanics she offered, like the Tributor Zoiker, the fact that it can distract other players, and also in the Tiga lore, like for the Tiga enjoyers out there, the whole Titan War that they talked about, I think it was called the Titan War or something, like the war before the current Ultraman Tiga was in the current timeline, like way back in the past. Throughout the episode, they keep talking about this war between the Titans and so on. And like, for me personally, like, I just felt like Chimera was just hinted at throughout the whole episode, like throughout the entire series. She was hinted at, but people just didn't know like it was a female, like Ultraman, evil Ultraman kind of thing. So for me, it was definitely a unique character to not have, or maybe to have. And I'm also a huge fan of Chimera, so I'm a shameless Chimera fan. So that is the main.
Yeah.
After all that rambling, like, that's the main reason, I guess.
Yes.
But I'm just the writer guy.
He's like, I can
Like,
give you
I
several
don't-
good reasons.
Yeah.
But the real one is
But-
it's awesome.
Yes. Like, at first the team was pretty reluctant to go for it, but like, I just kept on like pushing, like, guys, listen, like, come here, rather, like, come here. Y'all seen this character? Like, she's awesome. Like, who hates another Ultraman so much that they would have their own movie for it? Right? Like, Hell yeah, I would want that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let me get so my next question I wanted to ask you, just to kind of like as a last add-on to the DLC thing, is so what made you decide on the Heisei Godzilla as the featured Godzilla for the game?
I think it's definitely the look of burning Godzilla. Like that is just way too cool. And there definitely were a few other choices that we had in mind, but because if we had the license for burning Godzilla, we thought it would be easier to have his rival, which was Destroyer at the time. Like we had them together as a package deal kind of thing. But I'm not sure if that was really what went down during the pitch or during the deal. But for me, the burning Godzilla look was just solid, and it definitely brings back a lot of nostalgia for like Godzilla fans. Well, at least it did for me. Like, oh, this is something I want to see in a game. Like, this is just way too cool.
Yeah, I think that was a smart choice, having Burning Godzilla with Destroya, because then it's like you can recreate the fight from the finale of the movie Godzilla versus Destroya with that version of Godzilla. But no, I was always kind of curious about that, if there was, like the 1954 Godzilla being debated about, or the Millennium Godzilla, because, Godzilla 2000 was another very popular version of the character that was like the Godzilla of the early 2000s for a lot of us in America, because he was featured in all the Pipeworks games by Atari back in the day.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure about the details, but the Burning Godzilla look just really stood out compared to the early 2000s one, the Millennium one. And we felt like, because the maps, like especially in Tokyo, like it was the Tokyo map that we built, it was based off of like the 80s and 90s Godzilla film. So, we thought it would be like a cool sort of wrap up for the whole Tokyo map if we have Godzilla from that era to be in the game, to be in the map that we built it for. Yeah, so it sort of fit together nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to take the next one, John?
Yeah, so just to go back into that DLC for the Godzilla DLC. So when it came to putting in some of Godzilla's movesets for the game, was there some rules that you had to abide by, Toho, in order to make that happen and present that to the public for the game?
Yeah. I wouldn't say they were hard rules. One of the bigger ones that I mentioned just now was the Godzilla jumping thing. But
Yeah.
once we were able to convince them to let us have Godzilla jump in the game, everything else was about respectfully recreating what we thought was authentic for Godzilla. So we tried to look at various Godzilla movies, and we tried to pinpoint like what's the essence of Godzilla, like his heat ray and so on. And like we were really pretty careful with which era's Godzilla movie we picked out and to assemble together, because we definitely want to have it fit in with the burning Godzilla model. But we try to have like, we try to put a bit of like fan service for it. So like the Godzilla drop kick thing.
Oh God, yes. I think that was a perfect addition to the game. That was just something that a lot of us were absolutely dying for when we saw that be presented during the trailers. That was just, I loved it.
It's spot on.
I think they were. I'm not sure how it looked like from the Toho side. Like how were their reaction when they saw like our idea for them? But I hope they had a good laugh. I think they liked it.
Yeah.
Do you have another question, Nick? Or?
Oh no, I was just agreeing with him to say yeah, but
sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because honestly, it's it is big moments like that that I think the fandom really remembers, and being able to work that in is definitely a part of the appreciation from it. And we know as our main writer gentleman here, when you were creating like the story mode, just to kind of uh build more into the story, what were for like your original stuff, what were some of like the primary influences, I'm guessing, because there's kind of like the nature's wrath, there's the the just the giant building, which by the way, that's my favorite design of the lineup. I have to just personally, I can't tell you how many times I've just gone off at Nick talking about concrete the design of this. He feels like this response to, we have watched kaiju destroy cities, now watch cities get the revenge.
Yes, exactly. That was what we were going for.
Awesome.
Downtown
You nailed it.
Tokyo.
But yeah, with that, what were other just influences you wanted to pull from when creating this story and tying all these guys together?
Oh, that's a huge question. Influences. I think definitely the obvious one would be all the kaiju movies
Mm,
and all the Ultraman movies, all the tokusatsu,
of course.
various spin-offs. But definitely, I looked into a lot of. This is gonna be a bit weird, but I did look into a lot of religious books for
Mhm.
inspiration, mainly about where or how the world began. Like
Mm,
how was the world created from the perspective of different cultures and religions, and from there I tried to think about or try to immerse myself in their shoes to see they what would they think is a monster. Like when when you hear the story of David and Goliath, like what does Goliath feel like if I were David? And yes, and I also looked at a lot of like science books and
mm,
psychology books. I did like I think I read through the entire psychology uh, lesson or chapter on the idea of rage, like the concept of rage. Like, what does it mean to be angry?
mm,
And I went as far as to read like the whole chemical, like the brain chemical reaction and stuff, like things that just wouldn't really affect the game's writing. But I just went as deep as I can and try to understand, like, because like Gigabash is all about, letting go of
mm.
all your pent up rage as a player. And as kaijus, like for example, Gorgon, like he's just angry, like this angry kaiju character. So what does it feel like to be him? To be that angry all the time? And yeah, like science books, religious books, as well as kaiju films. But definitely big ones are like anime as well. I think Eva was a big one. Gundam as well,
Mm.
or maybe like Gridman, SSS Gridman, which I
Mm.
think was pretty new at the time. Kaiju number 8. You
That's
guys
been
know?
on the rise recently. We need to get
Yeah.
into that. I think Nick's actually doing something on it soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
like
seen a few.
when I was researching, like when I was looking at Kaiju number 8, they were only at their 6th or 7th chapter, and then now it's like an anime already. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, just looking at inspiration from everywhere.
Mm. That's something that's something a lot of really big writers I've noticed have pulled towards is kind of pulling influences from just beyond like your immediate sphere, especially. I know like the writer of JoJo's specifically, he went and visited all of like the old Roman uh churches and all of the old like Rome styled just that statue. It's like the reason his artwork specifically is so dynamic and pose worthy is that's what he studied for for a
Yeah.
long time to kind of get that down. And so yeah, no, that's awesome to hear though. And I mean, I'm right there with you. I've got everything on, dictionaries of symbolism to just different aspects of the world that we get to. I've got one that's just like on just Imperial China that I've been pulling from for a short story and stuff. But it's no, it's you do end up on, the 3-page deep Wikipedia articles on what are all of the character personality traits that define us.
Yeah.
And get into it. And it's definitely, and I can just with the Gigabash characters especially, I do notice they are all of them very different from the last. It really does show that there was a lot of effort put into making each of them very unique and feel very differently to the player and audience and stuff. And it's just excellent as it's come through. But speaking of general responses, I mean, obviously we three love it. It's just haven't got for it. But with so many influences, especially from like Japan, have you gotten responses, in the big Japanese media or stuff, or any coverage for that with how that audience has reacted?
Yeah. I was there in Tokyo Game Show 2022. I would say like it's definitely a really surprising experience for me because, as you may know, the whole Japanese stereotype is sort of a quiet, introverted person. But when they put their hands on Gigabash, like when they had the controllers in their hand, they just like switched to like shouting and just like screaming, laughing. Like it's just amazing to see that switch. Like to be able to work on something that can really open up a person to sort of embrace like the fun side of life. Like I mean, I hope their life is great, but like they look pretty stressed out when they walked in. But the moment they tried Gigabash, like things just changed. And yeah, we were I would say we were pretty warmly received in Japan. We I think in Indonesia as well, but I wasn't there. But just according to the sort of sales chart, like we had quite a few players playing in Indonesia as well as in Malaysia. But yeah, Japanese was like a really, really, really good experience. Like our first test audience was in Japan as well, and having them, I think at the time we only had Gorogong and PP Juras. So when they saw PP Juras, they're like, "Oh, Barton, Barton!" like, like they just like made our day. Yeah, yeah, definitely they really loved it. So
That's awesome to
we
hear.
are pretty grateful to be able to experience that. Like especially for me, like I'm just super grateful to be able to witness that firsthand. Yeah.
Uh oh, sorry. I sorry.
Nope, go right
Go
ahead,
ahead.
John.
Okay. So since we're talking a little bit about the event from the Tokyo Game Show, this is just a question that I'm improvising into this interview. So as of right now for 2024, what shows does Passion Republic have eyes on currently to promote Gigabash at? And as well as what are the next shows that you have lined up for Gigabash?
If you know and can share that.
If you could share that.
Might be one of those things that marketing people will be like, don't say we're gonna share it.
Wait a minute. Don't hold there.
Just
Oh,
in
wait a minute.
I'm not sure if I'm able to share that, but I can only say we are working on more stuff. So definitely stay tuned.
Awesome.
Yeah, there'll be more for Gigabash. No worries. And
Awesome.
yeah, just stay tuned to our social media. Like I think we'll share something pretty soon.
And we'll have all of that linked
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So going to
I'm
some of
legally
these,
obliged to not share.
That's like everyone. Got it.
Yeah. So going to the original monsters again for the game. So I had a night. It just kind of came to me when I was playing Skorak or Skorark. Is that how you pronounce it? Skorark. It's the slug with the four arm.
Skorok, yeah.
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 So I noticed he's got a skull on the back of his body that looks like Rawa's face a little bit. So I was wondering, was the original idea for Skorark to have Rawa's skull on its back, like kind of like a trophy it's wearing?
Yeah. So, like, if you read the lore, so Skora actually killed Rawa in the past. So that was his trophy. But somehow, uh, this is going to be spoiler safe, no spoilers. So somehow Rawa came back, like, in one piece. But somehow Skora still has a skull. So that is something we want to explore in the future, like why Rawa can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely that is Rawa's skull. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was wondering that because I noticed the horns are a little different because Rawa's got one big horn on Skorark. It's got like two smaller horns on it that are on the side of the head. So I wasn't fully sure if that was Rawa's or not. But now that I know, like now it starts to make sense. But I can't wait to find out like why Rawa exists if it's supposed to be dead, kind of thing. So that's gonna be interesting to find out. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hop right in after and to ask, what are some of the plans that you have for the game which um would be including new kaijus? Are there plans of new kaijus going to be introduced for Gigabash?
I'm thinking whether I will get shot for saying it.
Oh,
But to say, John, stop making the laser pointer appear on him.
But let's just have my reaction to be the answer. Yeah. I might get shot for saying it. That's my answer.
okay. I mean,
Okay.
hey, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. We respect that.
We heard nothing officially. Everyone, is our address hidden? Hold on.
Make sure. Let's make sure we hide our IPs, everybody.
Because that is, of course, with the six, what we as the audience see as a success from Gigabash. Of course, I'm sure the company wants to keep going, wherever they can improve and grow it from there. But are there perhaps DLCs scheduled? Because I'm sure new monsters may be a Gigabash 2, maybe type scenario. But I didn't know if there was anything DLC wise y'all were still looking to add or anything.
We are definitely making more stuff. But that's all I can say.
Fair enough.
But
Fair.
more stuff. And it's coming pretty soon. Like we'll announce it pretty soon.
Oh.
Okay.
So, but
I was gonna say if anybody want to ask this last question, but if not,
Yeah, you go ahead, John.
well, so the last question that we have is how was the team's response to the initial game release and as well as the add-on rosters that were presented to the game? How was the team's response towards that?
kind of like,
I think
once they've gotten to submit all their piece, once they saw it all together, I guess.
in the game, like
Hmm.
playable.
Yeah.
I think definitely we were just happy that and relieved that things are not broken. Like the game is running. Like the game did not crash. That's a huge
Everything we
relief
put
in
together
itself.
worked. Woo.
Yeah,
Sure.
because like putting things together in the game is a very long journey, and you definitely get to put into the game and like pretty early on. But the thing is that something else might break that ruins that experience of like seeing your work in the game running and playable. So definitely the biggest challenge is always having the game run smoothly without crashes and just finishing one match and then try another match and the game did not crash and then we just keep on going and eventually we sort of get immersed into the gameplay and we forget that it's work. Like we just play the game as like a player. And that's a really, really, really good and reassuring feeling because it sort of like reassures us that the game is fun and it might work out like sales wise. Yeah. So, but when we released the game, like the day of release, I think we were just super relieved that the work is done. But what happened is that there's like, after you release the game and then we realized that there's a few bugs still, and then the team just went straight back to work. Yeah.
Right
So
back to patching.
it's just it's a marathon. Yeah. But things are working out pretty well. Like the game is running pretty smoothly now, and yeah, we're working on making more. Yeah.
We got one little other question to add to it, because we actually missed one, which was
Yeah.
just about the soundtrack for the game. Did the guy who did the soundtrack for your game, did he play like a demo of it first to like get the idea and the feel for each level's theme, or was he just shown footage and just he winged it, like just from like the visuals alone? Like, what's the story behind the soundtrack for it?
I think initially we sent him a footage, and then later on, I think we did send him a build. I'm not too sure about the details, but I'm pretty sure he had an experience of the gameplay. But we did send him a few like music references for him to sort of understand what we were aiming for. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say a bit of both, but I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I gotcha.
All right.
Yeah, that was just the last question I had. 'Cause I was curious about that part.
Because the soundtrack does work.
And all good.
It can definitely adds to the immersion of it.
Yeah, like when I first heard the soundtrack, it was pretty like I was actually crying like at how like, oh, this is real. Like I'm making a game that has its own soundtrack. Like this is real now. Like, oh yeah, for me it was definitely a very touching experience, especially to hear the soundtrack for Luana Island, the one in the Gigaman trailer. That one had me bawling for some reason. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That was a really good track, honestly.
Yeah.
I really like the Abyss track too. Like that's
Mm.
always catchy when it starts doing the do 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 do. I think you know what I'm talking about. I love it.
Yeah.
I was like, that was
Yeah.
that was cool.
Like pretty mysterious and sort of like you're in the unknown kind of feeling. Like, oh, that was
Yes.
so on point.
Yes. That was some good stuff. But yeah, that pretty much is all of our questions. Did you have any other questions, guys?
No, I'm all covered. I think we've hit our time as well. Hopefully we haven't kept him over too much.
Yeah, hopefully we haven't.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. John,
Okay.
any final questions as well, or?
No, I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, okay. Man, Gerald, man, we really appreciate you coming on and giving us all the information. We've really enjoyed the conversation we've had, and we wish you guys continued success. And as soon as I see Gigabash 2, of course we're gonna share it everywhere, just like we have. And hopefully soon you'll see just even more love for it. I'm hoping y'all's appearance schedule expands just like you were talking about as well, and we get to see you at more events and stuff from it. But with that, that is the end for our Soccer Central's episode for Visionary Dawn. Once again, we just wanted to thank Gerald Young coming on, excuse me, Gerald Young coming on, and giving us his path for it and his work within Passion Republic. So thank you very much, sir. And we will see.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see everyone else next time.